Even as an introvert, I genuinely enjoy small talk. And I ask like, oh, how are you? Wow, this weather's a bit funny, hey. So it's got nothing to do with the questions I'm asking. So here's how to make your small talk so good that often it'll be the best part of your day, no matter who you're talking to. And I'll also go over how to go from small talk to a proper conversation. And if you're like me sometimes and you just don't want to talk, then how to end the conversation, the small talk, without getting judged and creating an awkward silence. When it comes to small talk, a lot of us see it like how I used to see it, which is like I had my first shift as a delivery driver at Domino's one time, and I was just in the car like getting driven around one-on-one with one of the like trainers, right? And so obviously we had to have small talk, otherwise we were just going to be driving in silence. And I thought that would be a little bit weird, and so she said some stuff and I complimented like the look of her car. I was like, hey, you've got like a nice car, I like that like stuff on the dashboard. But I did not like that person and she did not like me, and it was very forced. But now I've realized that actually small talk is an opportunity. It's an incredible thing if you think about it, because what it does is it allows you to create a bond with someone without having to get to know more about them. Small talk is an opportunity to make people feel liked, and it is an opportunity to relate to people. When you talk about the weather or how busy you are, or these boring topics, you are relating to the other person in your shared struggle. When you just acknowledge that they're there, you give them a little nod, you say, how are you? You're showing that they are important, that they are present, that they exist. But both of those benefits of small talk are lost if you treat it like a chore. If you're talking to someone just to avoid an awkward silence and to make it comfortable, then you're not going to have the same kindness that you would show to someone who you're trying to make feel liked and make feel happier and make feel connected, make like relate to them, all that stuff. And you're not just doing that for their benefit, because if you have good small talk, you're much more likely to go into a real conversation. If you don't do it well, you actually can't ever get into a conversation. You're going to stay stuck in small talk. And so before you even go and talk to the person, you can have a smile on your face and you can look happy. And then when you talk to them, when you see them, that's probably the most important part. Then you got to look happy to see them. If you don't look happy to see someone, they're going to see that straight away and they're going to be like, oh, I am not talking to this guy, like he doesn't like me. They're going to feel terrible before the conversation has even started. And then acknowledge them as well. So look happy to see them, acknowledge them. And then when you start having small talk with them, if you even decide to do that, because the acknowledgement is often enough, you can be like, hey, how's your day? You can ask the boring questions, but ask them in a way where there's just a vibe where you're trying to like bond with them. You're trying to like relate over something. So if you talk about the weather, if you're just like, so crazy weather today, hey, well, it's clear that you're just making small talk. If you're like, this weather's so crazy right now, hey, that feels like you're bonding over something. And if you give someone a compliment, if you're like, how's your day? And you just say it in a genuinely enthusiastic and happy way, they're gonna see that you actually care about them. And the way that you show that you genuinely care is by genuinely caring. And so it's not about the questions you ask or anything technical. It's literally just the mindset that you have around small talk that either determines whether your small talk is good or terrible. And sometimes I don't have the energy to be super pleasant to people. I just don't really care. And what I do in that case, I still give off a pleasant, comfortable vibe. But it's more relaxed. It's not like, wow, I'm super interested in you. It's just like, hey, how's it going? I'm happy to see you, but I'm quite relaxed right now. I'm not really feeling like talking. And that is fine as well. But it's never, oh God, this is awkward. I need to say something to break the small talk, like, you know, to have small talk so it's not an awkward silence. As the bare minimum, you should look comfortable and slightly happy to see them, which should not be too hard. So that's the first thing. And then to go from small talk into a proper conversation, which is just something where you're learning more about the other person now, and you're having fun, rather than just a quick exchange where you're relating and you're showing that you like them and you notice them. The way that you do that is by asking good questions. But as I've said, if you mess up the small talk part, you're never going to get to a good conversation. If you walk up to someone and you have some awkward small talk, it's going to be difficult to go into a conversation unless you do the stuff which I've just talked about. After that though, to get to a good conversation, it comes mostly down to preparation and also the skill of just coming up with questions quickly. But that's something that takes a bit longer to do. And so what I would do is I would prepare for stuff. I would prepare questions and everything, but I would do this in a way where I'm not spending 10 minutes to craft the perfect question. I'm just spending like 15 seconds. And that way you're still training your brain to quickly think of questions. But what you're doing is you might have some conversation starters. So what do you do for fun? What was the highlight of your day? I just made a video on this. There's 5 there. Even better than this though is if you can ask specific things for that person. So think about it. If you know you're going to talk to someone, then think about like, well, what are some things that we talked about last time or the last couple of times that I can bring up? Like maybe they went to like a cool thing and I want to ask them about that. Maybe we were talking about this topic and I want to continue talking about that. And you just jump right in there. And that shows that you remember and that you're attentive to them, and it just jumps to a good conversation. You can also ask for some information, like maybe you don't know everything about your job, maybe you don't know everything about their job, maybe you don't know everything about the activity you're doing. There's pretty much always some information that you can get, and either they know and they tell you, which is good, or they don't know and you can bond over both not knowing. Another way you can prepare is a lot of small talk is exactly the same. People are like, how are you? Oh, I'm tired, or I'm busy. And so you can kind of recognize that pattern and follow up on, are you tired and are you busy? You can be like, oh, like, is that like a good busy, or are you like more busy than you want to be? If they're more busy than they want to be, well, you've just unlocked a whole conversation about a big struggle in their life. If they're tired, what's making them tired? Again, unlocks probably either they're doing something interesting or they've got a struggle in their life. Both good things to talk about. But really, you can ask anything. And as I've said, like if you've asked it in a kind, an interested way, they're going to be like, oh, wow, this guy loves me. He loves hearing about me. And so when you ask a question, then they're not going to take that as this is a question because they're trying to just make small talk and now not have a silence. This is a question because they want to get to know more about me, because you've already showed that you want to get to know more about them. And you can also give them a compliment. And this is like, I guess it could be classified as small talk, but I'd say it's kind of a bridge to a real conversation, because you can then ask them more questions. And again, that's just improving your showing that you really like them. So, they're gonna like you more. Okay, but what if you just don't feel like talking? You're just not in the mood. Well, a lot of the time you'll talk anyway because you feel obligated to. But sometimes there's a way where you can just say something that clarifies that you don't want to talk, and then there's no obligation anymore, and there's no awkwardness if you don't say something. So for example, if you're like actually doing a task and it's not clear that you're like completely locked in. So let's say you're like typing, you're typing away at something, but it's like they don't think that it's a super like draining, like mentally taxing task. So they think it's the kind of thing where, you do small talk as you do it. So say you're like waiting for a page to load or something, and you're like thinking really deeply about like what you're going to do after the page load. I don't know, whatever. But they're like making small talk with you. If you just want to focus on the thing that you're doing, just say that. Just say like, hold on, I'm trying to remember what I do next. And they'll be like, oh, okay. And then they'll shut up. So that's if you like don't want to talk because you've actually got something that you should be doing as like an excuse to not have small talk. But if you don't have an excuse and you just don't feel like talking, well, you can always say that. You can say like, oh, sorry, I'm just really tired today. And that's good. They'll probably shut up from that. You can also just stop asking them questions and give short responses. You could just be dry. The thing about this is if you're being really nice to them and you light up when you see them, and you say hi to them and everything, and then you proceed to not talk to them much and just give short answers, they're not going to be like, oh, that doesn't like me. They're going to be like, oh, he just doesn't really want to talk today. As long as you talk to them sometimes. One-off times, that's fine. If you consistently don't want to talk to them, then you're going to come across as fake if you constantly look really happy to see them, but then don't talk to them. So in that case, maybe don't look happy to see them. If you don't like this person, just be pleasant, but don't go too far. You can still look comfortable and like you wish them well, I guess, but you don't want to look actively like excited to see them. So you probably know that. You can work that out. So really the most important takeaway from this video is that small talk is not a chore. It's not something that you have to do or that you should feel obligated to do. It is an opportunity. It's an opportunity even if you don't have the energy to make the person feel really, really liked and respected and everything. You can just make them feel comfortable and you can make them feel a little bit seen, a little bit heard, and you can relate to them about your shared struggle. So I hope this helped, and subscribe and have a great day.